Why would she be freaked out by me? Oh. Well, clapping is very scary for small puppies, you know? She's like, I don't trust this applause.
Wait, sorry. I don't want to be in this either.
Oh, you're going to be in it now.
No.
Yep.
Alright,
Hi kids, welcome back to another pizza party. I'm Mrs. Pizza. Winnie is right here. Cheese is right here. Can you see her? No, not really. Cheese is literally like right here on the edge of frame. And first and foremost, happy 2024, you made it. Loud sports, air horn noises. You made it. I hope I can find that sound effect somewhere, because if not, if you don't know what I'm getting at, it's like, wow, she's lost her damn mind and the year has just started. Why are we here? We are here today to start off this year, the fabulous 2024, with some upcoming new releases. I usually focus on horror and fantasy releases because those are what I am most interested in. Those are the things that I read the most of. And so let's talk about some upcoming releases that I'm excited for. Winnie's also really upset that I'm here and I'm not petting her. Also, sidebar, if I sound weird, if you've watched any of my other videos and you're like, wow, this is not what you usually sound like, it's because for Christmas, I got a cold and she is still thriving. The cold continues. So I'm a little congested. I feel okay today. I'm kind of run down, but other than that, it's just like this weird, just like it sounds like I'm speaking through a paper towel roll, just like a large cardboard roll inside my head. I hope you understand what that means. Already gotten off topic. Let's talk about some books that are coming out in January of 2024. Most of these are fantasy or fantasy romance. I think there is 2 horror books that are on here, but most of these fall into fantasy. The first one that we are going to talk about is actually a re-release from a series that I absolutely adore and I want to scream its praises from the mountaintops, and that is That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. This comes out on January 2nd, and if you haven't read this, why don't you like yourself? Do you love yourself? Read this book. If you like fantasy romance, this is one of my favorite fantasy romance series. Kimberly Lemming writes characters that are funny and quirky and lovable. This series, which has 3 full-length novels and 1 novella previously out, she independently published them and they were available on Kindle Unlimited for a very long time. And then she's recently been picked up by a publisher and these have gotten brand new covers, which I was hesitant about. I'll show you the original cover. They're really cute and fit the kind of the tone, the vibe of the stories, but the new covers are pretty phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie. It was, we were worried and it was an upgrade moment. We're all excited. This story is the story of Cinnamon, also known as Sin, and she lives on a cinnamon farm or a spice farm with her family, which should sound cheesy, but a lot of things that are in here are meant to be cheesy funny in a good way. The characters are kind of in on the joke. These books are absolutely hilarious, and if you like your fantasy romances to be funny, I highly recommend the series. Now, Cinnamon, one night after being at a festival in town, after having quite a few drinks, stumbles home and sees someone in trouble. When she decides to help this person in peril, she quickly discovers that, oops, she's accidentally saved a demon. Now, in this world, demons are a multitude of creatures. There's not just your stereotypical demon. Demons are anything that is like a magical creature. So she ends up helping this demon, and in doing so, accidentally ends up on an adventure in order to save everyone, including the demons, from this sinister power that has done bad deeds, is how I'll put it. Really, this is just Cinnamon getting stuck on an adventure, even though she is not an adventure type girl. She loves the farm that she grew up on. She's totally content staying there. And she ends up going on an adventure with this kind of super dreamy demon that she helped save his life. It's really funny. It has spicy bits and it has Kimberly Lemming's sense of humor. I highly, highly recommend these. The next book that also comes out on January 2nd, and I do believe this one is going to be on Kindle Unlimited, and that is Brewed by Magic, and that is by Jenna Wolfhart. This is the 2nd book in the Forged by Magic series, I believe is what it's called. Let me check myself before I wreck myself. Falling for Fables is what the name of this series is. The first book is called Forged by Magic. In the first book, this is touted as more of a cozy fantasy romance. I wouldn't necessarily say it's super cozy. I think it's a little bit lower stakes, but there's still a lot going on. There's a lot of magic things happening and countries in peril and evil kings and stuff like that. It's cozy is a buzzword, and we love to hear the word cozy. The first book followed an orc who is a reluctant mercenary who is kind of, I hate to say a slave, but she's kind of imprisoned by this ice king, and her freedom is dangled in front of her if she goes and checks out this magical thing that's supposed to be extinct, and if it exists there, she needs to get rid of it. But she ends up on this cute island full of magical creatures that are all living in harmony, and obviously she is reluctant to be a mercenary to begin with, and so she ends up falling in love with this town and these people, and maybe just this super cute blacksmith who also is a little bit grumpy. In that first book, we meet our main character from this book, who is the sister of the blacksmith that we meet in the first one, and she, what is her name? We'll look it up on Kindle because Goodreads is not our friend today. Lila is our main character, and Lila is the sister of our blacksmith in the first book, who is our male love interest. So Lila has a traveling tavern. She has this setup where she goes from small town to small town on this archipelago of islands, is what it sounds like, through all these different festivals and things that happen, and she is known for brewing the most wonderful ale, and she has a great personality. She's very friendly, and she's had a lot of success. So she is traveling again to a different island for a different festival where she meets someone that she instantly feels like she has a connection with, but finds out pretty soon after that this person that she thought she had chemistry with is actually someone that also runs a traveling tavern and is her biggest rival. And he is taken off to try and get to the big festival before her to beat her to the punch. So now we have a rivals to lovers situation between Lila and our handsome stranger. But these two end up having to join forces at some point because someone is trying to sabotage the festival at large. And so in order to save the festival, save their businesses, they have to team up. Obviously, rivals, competitors to lovers in a fantasy romance. We love to see it. The next book that comes out after that actually comes out on January 9th, and that is The Djinn Waits 100 Years, and that is by Shubnum Khan. This is a new historical fantasy, and it says it is a sweeping, gorgeously atmospheric novel about a ruined mansion by the sea, the djinn that haunts it, and a curious girl who unearths the tragedy that happened 100 years previous. This sounds like it is a crumbling estate that is turned into some kind of boarding house situation, and when this woman moves here with her father, she kind of upsets the status quo in a good way and starts investigating what's happened to this place previously, a love story that happened hundreds of years previous, it sounds like. Dredging up old secrets that some of these people want to keep hidden, because a lot of the people that have ended up at this place have secrets of their own that they haven't dealt with. It sounds like there's a love story, a mystery, a djinn, and it sounds very atmospheric. So if that sounds something that you would like, if that sounds like something that you would like, I think that came out right the second time. That will be out on January 9th. The next book we are going to talk about is So Let Them Burn, and this is by Kamilah Cole. This is the first book in a new series, which is called The Divine Traders. This is book number 1, and this is a whip-smart and immersive Jamaican-inspired fantasy that follows a God's-blessed heroine who is forced to choose between saving her sister or protecting her homeland. It sounds like that our main character, Farron, can channel the power of the gods, and at some point use this power to destroy all of the dragons that were a threat to her and all of the enemies that were using the dragons that were a threat to her and her people. Years later, her sister and her are attending some international peace summit. She thinks she's going to be trotted out again as this hero. She's kind of become this poster child for heroism and just kind of looked upon with reverence, but she sees herself as more of like a trained pet in a lot of these situations. And while they're at this summit, her sister accidentally bonds with a dragon, which then forces this huge upheaval. Her sister is not supposed to be able to bond with this dragon. It's an enemy dragon. What does this mean for her? What does this mean for her sister? What does it mean for her country? The cover is absolutely gorgeous, and it has dragons in it. The next book we will talk about comes out on January 23rd, and that is My Throat and Open Grave. And this one caught my attention. This is by Tori Bovalino, which I have a book by this author that I haven't read. 110% piqued my interest, and that is, hold on, I can literally see it right now. not good for maidens. And this is a story of someone getting trapped in a goblin market and another family member having to go in and rescue, I believe it's a sister from the evil and dark goblin market, I love a goblin market. And so I was really excited about this. But this next book that we are talking about that comes out on January 23rd, 110% got my attention because this is like if Labyrinth, which if you don't know what Labyrinth is, stop your life right now. Go watch it. Technically, it's a Jim Henson movie, so maybe it's on Disney+. I don't know. Go find it. David Bowie's in it, and Jennifer Connelly, and Hoggle, and Ludo. It is my childhood. I have watched that movie so many times. This movie, if you have never seen it, I don't know if it would be any good if you haven't seen it through the nostalgia eyes of a child, but it's David Bowie as the Goblin King. Come on. So this book, which I have completely lost sight of talking about because I was so excited about talking about Labyrinth, is supposed to be a YA horror novel that is based on that movie, which that movie is the story of a young girl whose brother is kidnapped and she has to go into the lands of the Goblin King in order to rescue him from the Goblin King. If Goodreads would work, that would be fantastic. It's the story of Lee Jones, and it's either Lee or Leah. I'm gonna go with Leah. She has no hope for a future outside of Winston, Pennsylvania. She's on the verge of dropping out of high school, barely balancing her job at the gas station with her duty to care for her baby brother Owen. But when Owen is taken by the Lord of the Wood, Leah must face the dangers of the wood to write a song that will win Owen back. I mean, it's Labyrinth, but make it scary. Sometimes you ever just like, this book was made specifically for me. I hope you're as excited about that one as I am, because you should be. The next book that we're going to talk about comes out on January 30th, and if you don't already know about this, I'm glad to be the first one to welcome you into the world of Crescent City. The next book in the Crescent City series, which is The House of Flame and Shadow. This is the third installment, the first being The House of Earth and Blood. I don't remember what the second one is called off the top of my head, but these are all by sarahj.maas. I read the first one in this series and was absolutely obsessed with it to the point where I'm scared to pick up the second one, which is stupid. Because if I like something, why don't I want to continue it? Sometimes if I like something too much, I'm scared to go on. This is our third installment in this urban fantasy series where we have our main character, Bryce Quinlan, who in the opening of the first book, a tragedy occurs involving some people very close to Bryce, and then Bryce gets caught up in the investigation of figuring out what happened to those people. And this investigation is being led by Hunt, and he is an angel that is in service to a government agency that's run. I'm going to butcher it if I try and explain it to you. It makes sense in the book. It's an urban fantasy. People have cell phones and go to nightclubs, but it's also fae and fauns and vampires and mermaids. It's so much fun. And when I talk about that first book, I usually say the first half of the book very, very much feels like a murder investigation with these two people that have a little bit of chemistry and tension. And the last chunk of that book goes off the rails in the absolute best way, and it just dives deep into the fantasy elements. I think that we're all kind of excited that the third installment of this series is coming out, and it would really help if I read the second one. But January 30th, I can get the third one. And the last book that we are going to talk about today also comes out on January 30th, and that is the Invocations, and this is by Krystal Sutherland. This is the same author that brought us, hold on, let me grab it, The House of Hollow, which is a YA horror centering around three sisters who, when they were children, disappeared and sometime later reappeared, but seemed altered. They seemed to change after their reappearance. I think they were gone for about, I think it was like a year, but I might be making that up. It's been a while since I read this. This book is immaculate when it comes to the vibes. We have creepy flowers and otherworldly things happening. The sisters themselves are very creepy. Your actually main point of view is one of the sisters, but I wouldn't necessarily say was extremely scary for me, but I enjoyed the ride. The newest book that is coming out from this author, The Invocations, is a dark, seductive, witchy thriller, which don't we all love a witchy book? This is a story where both men and demons lurk in the shadows and girls refuse to go quietly into the night. Zara Jones believes in magic because the alternative is too painful to bear, that her sister was murdered by a serial killer and there is precisely nothing she can do to change it. If there's anything Zara cannot stand, it's to feel powerless. So she decides she will do whatever it takes, even if it means partaking in the occult, to bring her sister back from the dead. This also sounds like we have two other characters, one being the daughter of a billionaire who's made a deal with her soul, and now her soul is literally rotting, and so everything around her is rotting as well. We have a third character that comes into the mix and seems to be the answer to both Zara and our billionaire daughter Jude. This new character, Emmer, is the daughter of a witch and seems to be the answer to what Jude and Zara both need, respectively. So this has that kind of similar feel to The Craft, where we have this group of people all kind of coming together, and it's not necessarily going to be a harmonious mix. If anything, all of these things in the pot might get a little bit toxic, but these girls all need each other. There's dark forces happening. This author is fantastic at atmosphere, and this sounds like it's just going to be dark and drippy and rotten, and it sounds like this author is going for rotten flowers again, which was something that was definitely present in this book and was incredibly effective as imagery. There's just something about evil flowers. When something bad happens and then flowers, I don't know. I don't know why it works for me. It must work for a lot of people because I see it a lot. But that, kids, rounds out the month of January for a few releases that I was interested in, and I hope that you're interested as well. I hope I ruined your TBR, or at least added something fun onto the list that you didn't know existed, or maybe I reminded you of something that you forgot was coming out this month. It's gonna be a good start to the year 2024. Let's get our reading kicked off, you know? We all got reading goals. That is where I'm going to end this pizza party. If you had fun hanging out with me and the dogs and chatting about books, please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there, wherever you are, and I'll see you next time.